Hello guys, and welcome to the stream. Today we're playing some Steel Division Normandy 44. Well, I'm not playing. I'm going to be casting Steel Division Normandy 44. We're back here again for the throwback tournament of the Steel Division League. Yeah. Going to be some interesting games between Edreg and Hitman. So we'll have to see how they get on. Currently just going to wait for them to start, and we'll see what happens. Hello to Mattia and Ice Lemon, and hello Infantry Gamer, welcome. And hello Catalyst. You are not watching a repeat, no, not at all. So yeah, I'm just going to be basically doing live commentary over these games, so chat interaction during the fact will probably be pretty limited, but after the games we can talk about them. Also, after this stream, I will be streaming on Twitch as normal from 8 PM. So, hello Pateri and Willie. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Ooh, don't want to do that. I want to keep an eye on this game. In we go. I will hide my face. Playing on Omaha, interesting. Right, well, yeah, so it's going to be Hitman, who is named Nilla in Steel Division Normandy 44 apparently, and then we have Kerbs, or Edreg, on the other side. So again, we'll start in 1 minute and 40 seconds. Hope you guys are ready for some live casting. We will be, again, streaming on Twitch later on from 8 PM, so make sure to go check out my stream after this one. There will be like probably a little bit of a break because we've got potentially 3 games. It's a best of 3. So yeah, there we go. Why are we on YouTube for this one? Just because it's Steel Division Normandy 44, and it's also earlier than usual, so I just thought I'd separate it. I'd do it on YouTube, and then I can sort of bring more people over to Twitch, because the idea being that we're going to try and obviously shift more people over if we can. So, but I obviously can't stream on Twitch and YouTube anymore at the same time because I'm an affiliate on Twitch now. So, yeah. Alright, well we're nearly there. I'm going to hide myself and hopefully we will have a good game on our hands. Alright, there we go. Now we can't unfortunately hide the replay thing at the bottom, which is quite funny. Something that we've been so used to in Steel Division 2. But hello guys, and welcome to the what is it called? The Steel Division 2 Throwback Tournament. The final is being played in Steel Division Normandy 44. This is a 1 versus 1 on Omaha between Hitman, otherwise known as Nilla, and Edreg, also known as Kerbs, in this game. So we have the 101st Airborne and we have the 716th Infantry. The Axis side is probably going to have a pretty hard time against the elite infantry of the 101st. The airborne units are going to be very, very strong against the infantry of the 716th, so Edreg's going to have to very much rely on his Lorraines, on his IG-18s, and potentially his B2s as well. The B2s are actually pretty decent in this matchup if they can find kills onto the Locust, because without the Locust available, it looks like Hitman's going to have to rely on his M1 guns, which are not going to be as good. Well, they'll be okay at killing the B2s, but the trouble is they're not going to be good against any of these other units. So if like an M1 gun turns up, it's going to be a lot of points invested just to counter a B2, and then the Lorraine's probably just going to hit it anyway. So Idreg, if he keeps on top of his recon, which he should be able to do because the 716th do get Fusiliers, which are pretty good, he is actually going to be bringing in some Aufklärer on the top side here. He's also got what looks like a pack 38 at the start. We got a few units of Osttruppen and the Panzergrenführer there. Yeah, they got the Lorraine in the center, another Osttruppen to the bottom side, and on the very bottom, that's probably going to be the IG, I think, and then the MG and the Panzergrenführer with the B2. Well, let's just call him Curves, because in game he's called Idreg. Alright, on the top side here, we have the M1 gun. That's going to be some Pathfinders, and we got potentially a 50 cal at the start of the game. Then we have another Pathfinder and 50 cal for the center. Interesting setup here from Hitman for sure. And then we got a couple units of airborne engineers, followed up by probably 3 units of airborne rifles, and the command there. So very infantry focused from Hitman so far. And it's going to be interesting to see if he does bring a Locus onto the map, and potentially an AT gun, because otherwise this B2 is going to do absolute work on this bottom side. So there we go. More units still being put down. You don't really see much more from Idreg. Looks like he's ready to go. So a relatively even spread from Idreg, although in the center there's not too much. So a push up this road, for example, would likely lead to a salient, but that's where these troops will most likely be, is in this tree line. So they're going to prevent the push forwards there, whilst Idreg kind of makes the push on the very top side and potentially on the bottom side, although there's not actually much infantry to support a push from this B2 and potentially this IG early on, which is kind of interesting because he's going to have to definitely bring in some Osttruppen to try and make a push across the open to this area, whilst also making sure that he pins all these 50 cals. A lot of 50 cals, and that one's going to be actually a 30 cal. That's a lot of cards of machine guns, which is something that I'm not used to seeing with the 101st. There's literally no like armor piercing here at all, other than, oh, he has brought in an AT gun for the top side. But there is no tank up here for Idreg, so that top side could be one to watch out for, because Idreg is currently countering the play on both sides already at the start. So we will see. So both players, I think, more or less set up, so the game should start shortly. But yeah, I'm not sure what Hitman's strategy is going to be. A lot of stuff forced into the center. I guess he's probably going to try and take control of this town with the airborne engineers. But the airborne engineers are going to struggle to push out of this town unless they're covered by things like smoke, so we might see the M1 howitzers come in. I haven't actually talked about the divisions in general. Like the 101st is quite an interesting one because the 101st relies either on their artillery play or their air play. So he might have like a Mustang, for example, at the start, the Mustang bombers. They're pretty good. Or he will start to bring in artillery, the M1 howitzers and so on. So that sort of play either way is going to be interesting against the 716th. The 716th won't deal with the arty very well because they have a lot of static fire support weapons like the Pack 38s and IGs. So that's one way that Hitman here could overwhelm the defenses of Kurbs. Meanwhile, on the side of the 716th, it's really going to be about the B2s in the early game and how much ground he can gain from that, whilst also supporting his infantry pushes with the Lorraines and potentially heavier artillery later on. He will likely have the Werflammens available, and those Werflammens can absolutely destroy the airborne infantry, and if Hitman doesn't get value out of his infantry during this game, that's one way that Idreg can really punish him. So That's what I'm hoping to see. Otherwise, the 716th isn't a very aggressive division due to its reliance on, again, static fire support weapons and the infantry. So I feel like it's going to be very difficult for him to push forwards, but an interesting matchup nonetheless, and we'll have to see if Idre can prove himself on the 716th, trying to win my heart, that's for sure. Been a while since I've seen them, since we've been hanging out in Steel Division 2. But good to have them back in this game. Again, we should be starting shortly. We are currently live, so I can't speed it up at all. Just got to wait for them to get underway. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the stream. Thank you for coming along. Why are we on YouTube and not Twitch? So the idea is going to be that we stream on YouTube today until like however long it takes to get through these games, and then afterwards I'll be streaming on Twitch normal time, 8 PM till 12 PM. So we've got another 4 hours of Steel Division 2 later on for you guys, but that is going to be on Twitch. So if you haven't already, make sure to go follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming, because we will be switching over to the Twitch stream later on. I just didn't want to have the Steel Division Normandy 44 stuff at the start of my Twitch stream, because I'm trying to keep the numbers up on Twitch. And I thought this would be a good way to convert some viewers from YouTube to Twitch if I did it this way around. So there we go. Azaren says 716th versus 101st is so good for 716th because you just bleed their infantry while you never run out. Yes and no. The trouble is, it is all about value. It is about value in the infantry. That is the entire matchup, for sure. But it's not always the case that the 716th can be in a position to bleed the infantry. For example, on the bottom side here, if the 101st gets into these buildings with any form of elite infantry, like the airborne engineers and stuff, it's going to be very difficult for Idre to ever push him out. He will be able to RT the crap out of it, but good micro from Hitman will prevent that from being too effective. So again, it comes down to just like, can Hitman really find the value in that town? And yes, it's a best of 3. I am actually surprised that Hitman isn't putting more forces towards this bottom side. There is, of course, a Panzer II and the IG there that we can see. However, taking this area would be quite an easy one for him to hold, as opposed to trying to push through the hedges on the top side. His infantry is well suited for longer range engagements, especially the airborne rifles. They will destroy Osttroppen at range, but only at the range in which their rifles can get involved, because otherwise the Osttroppen, they do of course have MGs, so they can still hold things back if they are in heavy cover. Alright, well, let's see. Lance says, I think Eugen fell out of love with Steel Division. Hopefully he gets back in Steel Division 2. And Gonzo is busy with exams. He's been playing quite a lot on my streams, but I guess that is the weekend. And maybe he doesn't have enough time to get involved with the tournaments just yet. Hopefully he will in the summer. Just waiting for them to start the game now. And then we can talk a little bit more about what's going on. It seems like we've been waiting a while. The game's already been open for 10 minutes. My plan is to actually put these up on the channel as videos. I will obviously cut out all the parts where we're just kind of waiting, but yeah, so far An interesting matchup. I was very surprised actually to see the 716th at the start. I don't know what I expected to see though. I guess 716th in 1v1 is actually pretty decent in certain matchups. And we're off. Wow, would you look at that? So, here we go. Let's have a look at where these troops are heading. So, on the side of Hitman, we've got a relatively concentrated push towards this town and these buildings. We have all of these units sort of spreading out to the mid and top side. For Idreg, it looks like he's definitely going to be concentrating through that road on the top side with one infantry just covering off this town. We have the 2 units trying to push all the way into the town here. Not entirely sure, but it seems like there's no sound, which is kind of odd. There we go. That's better. Alright, so the MG has set up, the IG-18 is in the bush there, ready to fire at the infantry here. We've got the rifles, they're going to be hitting the Grenfjord briefly, with the Lorraine already hammering this 50 cal, but that infantry squad is dead already. The 30 cals of the airborne rifles just demolished that unit, and without that in position, the Ostrupen going to have to fall back. The 50 cal is melting that Ostrupen squad in the open. They are now pinned, they're going to have to fall back, and it looks like Idreg's just going to be bringing more units down here ASAP. He can see the concentration of forces in this town, and is just going to have to make sure that he prevents that from pushing out, because there's already a rather nice salient opening up here due to the 2 infantry units that Idreg had in the way being crushed. So it's already a +1 now for Hitman. He's decided to bring up the mortar, and I mentioned how at the start Hitman would have to provide smoke to allow his airborne engineers to push out of the town. Well, so far he hasn't needed it, but he definitely has it available if that is the case. We've got actually a Storch coming in from the side of Idreg. He's going to be trying to scout out the top side and see if he can make some ground whilst the infantry pushes down on the bottom side. So the MG-34 actually chunking this airborne engineer nicely. These airborne engineers actually still hitting the Ostrupen, but the B2's coming up. But the airborne rifles are getting close. They're in range with their bazooka. Just need to get line of sight, and that's going to be a very dead B2. Oh, they missed. They missed. The B2, lucky for now. Can the airborne rifles find another shot? Currently, the B2's falling back. The airborne rifles might struggle to stay on target. IG-18 does manage to hit this 30 cal rather nicely. The 50 cal now opening up again into the mid though. Ostrupen getting melted, that's for sure. MG-34 going to try and fire back, but due to this 50 cal being in a building, that's probably not going to be too effective. Now the airborne rifles though have managed to help pin down the IG-18 with the 60mm mortar, and this is getting to a scary position for Idreg, because if some smoke comes down here, then the airborne rifles plus the airborne engineers can push into this town and really put a lot of pressure on, because the airborne rifles can deal with the B2, the airborne engineers can just melt all the infantry and other units that are here. And I was talking about infantry value, that would be a hell of a lot of value. Is that smoke coming down? It is not. That is currently HE support. Now he's going to be bringing the smoke, but it's a little bit late. The airborne engineer just took a chunking from the B2. 50 cal in the mid though has pinned the MG-34. The Ostrupen are currently being pushed back. On the top side, the Ostrupen here are engaged with the airborne rifles. Airborne rifles at that range definitely trump the Ostrupen 5 HE versus 11 HE. Quite the disparity, and the center is currently falling to pieces at the moment for Idreg. Panzer 39 is on its way to try and prevent some of this infantry from pushing across the open, but some smoke coming in actually from the front side of the town is going to allow a couple units of infantry to push all the way in here. The airborne engineers have died, but 2 units of airborne rifles coming straight up the main road have now pushed all the way in, and this is going to be extremely scary for Idreg. His airborne rifles here are very close to this B2. The MG is going to get taken out. The IG-18 is likely to go down very very soon. That's gone. The Grenführer, they're going to get ripped to shreds. This is a fantastic value. Airborne rifles just hopefully going to continue that push forwards now and really ambush this B2 and get rid of it. The Ostruppen might be able to help pin the airborne rifles just before they get killed themselves, because if that was a continued engagement, 6 airborne rifles versus the Ostruppen would have been dead. But thankfully for Idreg, the airborne rifles already suffering a little bit of stress there. So HE is coming in, that's towards where the IG was, but the IG is already dead, so there we go. Airborne rifles trying to house hop forwards and get their bazooka on target. Will they hit the mark this time? They were aligning, but they weren't allowed to fire. Looks like Hitman's just trying to get as close as possible. Gets the ammo storage hit. That's not the critical he's looking for. And meanwhile in the center, the Ostruppen here actually getting hit by their own Lorraine briefly. And that's just one sad Ostruppen behind enemy lines now. Hitman's already pushing a +2. On the top side, things aren't going too well either. The Storch just revealing that Hitman is pushing hard with his airborne rifles. And this infantry play that Hitman's got going on right now is actually working out very nicely. I was a little bit worried that with the armor of Idreg in position, that this infantry wouldn't be able to push too far forwards, but the great use of smoke has allowed Hitman to do all he needs to do. Airborne engineers, they're absolutely melting that squad as it comes forwards. Another recon on the bottom side. Now, to me, this recon is a little bit of a waste of time because there's a lot of infantry, and a lot of the infantry will be hard to spot for the Storch. If we actually go to Idreg's point of view right now, he can only see the infantry that's purposefully out in the open, and only for a short amount of time. Yes, you can see where the mortar is to potentially counter battery that with the Lorraines, but otherwise this is really awkward for Idreg, and that's like a 50-point Storch, right? Or 60 points even, which could be spent on 3 units of Ostruppen, for example. That's the difference there. So MG34, that's going to prevent the airborne rifles from moving across the open at least, but this is not looking good anywhere on the map for Idreg so far. The value out of Hitman is certainly coming to the fore, and the airborne rifles here, only a matter of time surely until they bump into the Speertrupp. We've got the M1 gun on the main road. Will it get the kill onto the B2 before it turns off? That's a track wheel destroyed. That B2 is not going anywhere. And it doesn't have HE to pin down the M1 gun. It's surely going to be dead very shortly. The B2 is getting a crossfire onto the airborne rifles here. They're going to be able to get behind cover rather quickly though, due to that tree line. Just a matter of time until the M1 gun finds the kill. And in the center, well, we've got an M3 gun taking out that tank, so no Panzer 39 anymore, and things are just going from bad to worse here as the perfect AT gun for each position is in position. So we've got the M1 gun for the B2 and the M3 gun for the lighter vehicle in the center. Really nice placement there from Hitman, is getting the job done. This is really, really nice play from Hitman. I'm actually very surprised how well he's doing. I thought that Idreg would chunk him a bit more, but it seems as though with the help of this mortar on the bottom side, these infantry squads have managed to make quite a lot of ground, and the Lorraines here just aren't really getting the job done. Mustang coming in to bomb this Lorraine. That's going to be forcing that back and stopping it from firing at the bottom side for the time being, allowing more freedom for this infantry. And that's all that Hitman really needs to do. He's managed to surrender another unit on the top side. He's got the airborne rifles surrendering, I guess, the Ostruppen there. And now we're up to 64% lead across the entire map. It's not like just one section of the map's been pushed. Like, the whole map is under threat here. And this is going to be very, very difficult for Idreg to push back onto, because he doesn't really get... It doesn't get any better from here for the 716th. It only gets worse. You've got all of your assets in Phase A, the B2s, the Lorraines, and then after that, yes, you can potentially do loads of damage with something like a Werframen, but from this point onwards, you're fighting against elite entrenched infantry, and that's going to be very, very difficult to deal with. Also, it looks like the Storch is going to get shot down here, Bofors. Will that manage to get the kill? This Storch is definitely oil leaking all over the place, and it's going to go down. So that's another 60-point shot out the sky. and I'm surprised that Hitman is stopping where he is for now. Maybe the B2 is providing a bit too much of a threat, the IG-18 in the center and the bottom side. But honestly, again, he's got the mortar, he's got the smoke. He's also got the mortar on the top side. This mortar is going to be going for the HE shots onto the IG-18 just to pin that down and allow the airborne rifles to continue their push up. Pathfinders are in a really sneaky position there. Recon moving ahead of his troops is doing the job so far. Bofors going to be currently hitting the Storch, going to force that back, and now the ME-109 G2R1 coming in with a bombing strike onto the 60mm mortar. Idreg has had enough, but that's not going to get the kill. The pinning from the Bofors made that incredibly inaccurate, whilst Hitman free strike onto the IG-18. That goes down. More room for maneuver for the infantry on the bottom side. We got the Lorraine now firing at where the Bofors was firing from, just to try and take that out, but this is a +3 for Hitman, so he's going to be winning the game in 8 minutes and 20 seconds if this continues. And I'm really struggling to see a way in which Idreg can come back into this match. From the start, Hitman has had the jump on everything that Curbs is going to do. I thought that Curbs might be able to control the bottom side with the unit composition that he had, but just one more to turn that around after the start of the game. With the smoke support, getting the infantry into this town. I actually mentioned how controlling this town would be devastating for Idreg, and that's come to fruition. In the middle, I didn't expect so much ground to be lost for Idreg, but I guess he didn't have that many units here, so that would have been the best way for Hitman to push, and well, look at that. After 11 minutes and 31 seconds, Idreg is going to give up that game and go for a winning game 2, hopefully for him. Because this is a best of 3, so we're going to have to look out in the next game, see if he can get the work done. But Hitman coming in strong, 630 kills to 30 losses. That is a crushing victory. Absolutely insane stuff here. Wow, check out the value on these airborne rifles. So, airborne rifles killing off MG34, Grenadier, Osttruppen already pays itself off. Airborne rifles killing one IG-18 pays itself off. The 50 cal in the center killing the Speertrupp, the MG34 and the Osttruppen. You got the M3 gun killing 2 Panzer 39s. It's every single unit is getting value. And the M1 gun is killing the B2. You've got the Bofors shooting down the Storch. Like everything that Hitman brought in did its job exactly the way it was supposed to, and all he lost was 1 unit of airborne engineers to the B2, and that was just because of the lack of smoke towards them. Crazy victory. That is a shame for the 716th, because like a couple of B2s there could have done absolute work. But the AT guns, if they're used correctly, the M1 guns just to snipe those B2s, you know, the 716th has a hard time because they don't really have much else to hold things back. And if the 101st goes for like an artillery doctrine, like I said, then you can't really do anything. You can't move forward, you can't be aggressive, because all of those IGs get pinned by mortars and M1 howitzers. But it looked like Hitman kind of just went for like the mortars to assist him in the early game and then focused on his airplay. So he brought in the Mustangs, the Thunderbolt, and those are what kind of just pinned the Lorraines to stop them from pinning his infantry, and then also the rocket strike onto the IG-18 we saw as well. So really well played from Hitman. Incredible stuff. 11 minutes and 31 seconds. I didn't see that coming. That was incredible. Really fantastic game from Hitman. Now what we're going to be doing is moving on to game 2 of this final. Right, well, what do you guys think about that? That was pretty nuts. I think we can just about accept that abuse if we get a 3rd match. Is he going to be playing the 7th Armoured? Oh no. Oh no. It is his 10 play allies, isn't it? Thank you, Nightwolf. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Thank you everyone for coming along. It's good to see 120 of you watching the stream. After I've casted these games, I will be taking a little bit of a break, and then what I'm going to be doing is coming back. We're going to be streaming again tonight from 8 PM till 12 PM BST, so another 4 hours after this stream. And that's going to be solely on Twitch. So make sure if you haven't already, to make sure to go follow me on Twitch, and I'll be live on there at 8 PM BST. So make sure to check it out. Yeah, let's see if we can get another 2 games out of this one, because that was an incredibly short game. Incredibly short game. I think we actually spent more time in the deployment than in the game. How long was the deployment in that one? It was like 10, 12 minutes. Oh man, that is rough. That is very rough. It's good to be back on Steel Division Normandy 44 though, it's a lot of fun. So we're just trying to sort things out. Why no Steel Division 2? I'll be playing Steel Division 2 later on my Twitch stream. We'll be doing 4 hours of Steel Division 2 later on. It actually has a good UI. I can't close the timing window though. I actually quite like the Steel Division 2 UI. Although the menu in Steel Division Normandy 44 is a bit more, I don't know. I never thought I would say that, because I remember opening up Steel Division Normandy 44 and thinking the menu is crap. But I think it's still better than like the menus in Steel Division 2. Well, the Wargame menu was good, except from it was like really like obscure. Like I remember opening, okay, especially the air land battle one, like where you had like the buttons in the bottom right and the bottom left. Like I remember opening up and like I was like, where are the buttons to do stuff? And I'm like, oh shit, it's in the bottom left, like on these buttons. And then like the right panel never come up until you click the left panel. So you click into a menu and you think like, oh, it's going to change on the left side. No, it actually came up on the right side. Like it was so confusing. So I think that was the... Well, actually, I did a basic tutorial for European Escalation, but I think I also did a basic tutorial for Air Land Battle, just because like the menus were confusing. Yeah. I mean, I've had to do it for most of the Eugen games. I think they always like put like no budget into the into the menus and stuff, so it just is what it is. Right, let's see. We're in. Oh, we're in for Colin Bell. Interesting stuff, right? I'm going to be hiding myself again. Let's get into this one. So here we are for game 2 between Edreg and Hitman. This one's going to be on Colin Bell, and on the allied side, Edreg is playing with the Guards Armoured, and Hitman is going to be playing with the 1st SS Panzer. So this is quite an interesting matchup. We've got Cromwell 7s for days versus the Stugs. And those Stugs in the early game are going to be pretty rough actually to deal with. The AT Stugs. The Guards, it's an okay choice, especially if he manages to shut down the Stugs early on. He can make some serious ground against infantry with things like the Humbers. So we'll have to see what he focuses on. So far, the Cromwell 7 is coming down, but yeah, the Panzerjäger Stugs are definitely going to be coming onto the field as well. So that's the matchup we're going to look out for. Cromwell 7s versus Stugs. The Stugs do have decent penetration versus the Cromwells, but the Cromwells have just as much penetration against the Stugs. The biggest difference, though, is that the Cromwell 7 comes in with no veterancy, whilst the Stug 3s come in with 1-star veterancy. So if the Stug 3s also have command nearby, they're going to be 2-star veterancy, and then the Cromwell 7 is more or less completely outmatched still. So that's going to be relatively tough for Idreg to manage, but the Cromwells at close ranges can certainly take advantage of the fact that the Stug is an assault gun and therefore does not have a turret, and will have to turn it in order to fire. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, yeah, that's just going to be 2 6-pounders. We've got 2 units of motorized rifles, I assume. There's a Piat for the center, another unit of motorized rifles on the top side as well. On the side of Hitman, he's got the IG-18 there assisting the Stug 3. There's going to be a couple of Panzergrenz. Do they have Panzergrenz? It's Volksdeutsche, isn't it? For the 1st SS Panzer. They're going to be pushing into the factory here. And there's also going to be some Sturm Pioneers at the start. On the bottom side, just an IG to cover that position. The great thing about these IGs coming in with the 251s is that you can use the half-track to just hide behind a tree line and hold the front line in that area. And they can be quite hard to dislodge, especially if the infantry you're coming up against uses things like Piats, which actually never hit. So we will see. Yeah, wondering whether or not Kirbs is going to be bringing out that sod. We'll have to see about that one. Can Idreg find a kill onto maybe a Stug or something? I'll have to give him like a little shout out if he manages to do that one. That's for sure. We're just waiting for the rest of the troops to come down here. We've got the Volksdeutsche from Hitman on the bottom side just to join there, but that's a lot of points invested already. 110 points apiece, I believe these are. These Stug 3s. You got the Puma going to be joining the fray in the center, going into that factory. You've got the couple units of Volksdeutsche. So he's nearly done here. He actually removed the IG on the bottom side in favor of the Puma. So that's what's happened there. Double Cromwell through the factory. Will that work? This is going to be a really interesting engagement. It's almost as if Hitman can actually see the lay of the land here, because that is going to be an interesting exchange on the top side. The Stug Puma versus Cromwell 4 and Cromwell 7. So yeah, it depends. I guess if there's command here, that will work out nicely. It depends if the command remains nearby the Pumas and the Stugs, because the 10 AP here is more than enough to get through the Cromwell 4 at least. The 14 armor of the Stug 3 is good enough to get through the armor of the Cromwell 7. So if they're targeted correctly with that extra veterancy, it looks like Hitman could come out on top. Let's see, we've got the motorized rifles unloading into these trees. Looks like he's going to potentially try and cover this road with the motorized rifles, but the Stug 3 might prevent that from coming to fruition. The 1,000 meter range there from the Stug 3 will hit the motorized rifles before they unload, but the AT gun is in position, so if that unloads and keeps line of sight, he might be okay, because surely Idreg can see that. Cromwell going for the push onto the Puma, and the Stug 3 is trying to engage there, but does get crew knocked out, which is not a good place to be. The Stug is hammering. That's Cromwell 7. It's taking a lot of suppression. Needs to get out of line of sight, needs to break that line of sight. Looks like they have been distracted by the Bren group in the center. So it was actually Bren group across the board, not even motorized rifles from Idreg. So relatively weak infantry here that the SS Volksdeutsche could potentially exploit. Moving forwards and engaging those with the Volksdeutsche would be a very easy way to make some ground. Stug 3 going to be slamming that half track that was pushing a +1. Still a +1 for IDREG, but any sort of push on the bottom side with some Volksdeutsche will likely just break down whatever IDREG has here. The double 6-pounder here is quite interesting to cover that bottom side. It just looks like the main contest is in the top side though for now. The Cromwell 7, the best way to use this right now is to get line of sight onto the Puma without engaging the Stug. Because the Puma has no chance of killing the Cromwell 7 at that range, whereas the Stug does. So the Cromwell 7 needs to pick off the Stug, and then he can just 2v1, or the Puma, sorry, then he can 2v1 the Stug with the Cromwells. So just gotta be careful with that micro, although it does look like the Volksdeutsche are kind of pushing up here and preventing that Cromwell 7 from doing what it wants to, being in threat of using its Panzerfaust onto that vehicle. We do now have a 2-inch mortar carrier on the way that could provide some smoke for some plays with the Cromwells. However, if that is used for smoke, then it might actually benefit the Sturmpioneer and the Volksdeutsche more than anything. Really nice smoke use there from Hitman to get himself close to the Bren group, and those Bren group, well, they're going to get absolutely melted shortly as the Sturmpioneers break through the smoke. Really great use of smoke so far, honestly, from Hitman throughout these games. And he's managed to dislodge the Bren group. Spitfire is going to be coming in with the 2 15 HE bombs. It's going to dodge that strike. Nicely done. Still takes quite a bit of damage because those are sizable bombs, but keeps the Sturmpioneer squad alive. Or the Piat nearly snipes the Volksdeutsche there, but not quite. Now the 2-inch carrier going to try to finish off those Sturmpioneers, but that Piat is not long for this world. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, the Avklara, are they spotting these 6-pounders? Let's have a look. They are. And you can see both of them. So Hitman knows exactly what's going on down here. Brings in a couple of Volksdeutsche. You can just melt this entire line. We'll have to see if he actually goes for that. It looks like currently both players very distracted with this push over the factory on the top. 257 is arriving. These are incredibly difficult to deal with. Their 2-star veteran seat makes them incredibly fast firing, and therefore we're going to see that trying to pin down enemy infantry. Well, that is going to be one carrier going down. That is going to be used for smoke. Again, the great smoke plays coming across here from Hitman, using that cover to get his Volksdeutsche across. Puma going to be taking the shots from the Cromwells. IDREG still looking for that Puma kill, trying to get that out of the way so he can double team that Stug. The other way that he could have done that is, since there's no AA generally at the start of the game in Steel Division Normandy 44, it's very rare that people buy that. It might have been a nice idea to use the Spitfire to bomb the Stug and the Puma and then attack them from that, but this infantry is really causing big problems. You can see the Panzerfaust there finds the kill onto the half track, and now Hitman pretty much has full control of the factory for now. If these are a couple units of Bren group, they're really not going to be doing too much. And even motorized rifles at the close range won't survive too well against Volksdeutsche. They have the 8HE versus the 5HE, but that's not a sizable enough difference based on the difference in number of troops in each squad. And if they're caught at range, like this for example, the Volksdeutsche opening up with both their MG42s rips half of that squad to pieces in like a couple of seconds. So that is really, really scary stuff. Now the Volksdeutsche are actually making a push on the bottom side. We got these Volksdeutsche finding the Bren group. IG-18 has also arrived, really good choice for supporting this push on the bottom. And it's going to put IDREG in a really uncomfortable position for sure. The Puma and Stug working together well now. Constantly trying to find that line of sight without engaging the Stug. Cromwell 7 does find the kill finally. Now can he shut down the Stug 3? I think Hitman realizes that without the Puma there, this Stug 3 is in a pretty tough spot, so he's going to have to rely on his infantry play in the factory to keep them at bay for the time being, whilst potentially going for the snipes onto the half tracks. So Volksdeutsche still making ground. They have done some damage to the 6-pounder, and you can see the front lines buckling down here. 251 can come up and engage with its MG onto the Bren group now that the 6-pounder is falling back. It's going to be out of line of sight of this other 6-pounder here, as you can see. Meanwhile, this IG is going to help kill off the Bren group, and then also potentially the 6-pounder, although the Volksdeutsche are coming down since they pinned the Bren group in the trees there. So the bottom side in a very, very tough spot. This Spitfire probably going to go for the bombing strike onto, I was going to say the IG-18, but no, it's going for the Volksdeutsche. They're just trying to prevent that infantry squad from making too much ground since they're out in the open. Probably going to take a lot of damage from this. Get all the way down to 2 men. And the Bren group might be able to finish them off now if they are allowed to open up. 6-pounder no longer pinned. Might kill off this half-track in time. It does indeed. That ends up pinning the Volksdeutsche in the open. And those 2 units are suddenly completely alone in the open. The IG-18 doesn't really have line of sight onto any targets just yet, but we'll see actually the 6-pounder soon. I think the Alpha is still spotting that, so the IG, if it moves down, gets some shots on, that might work out quite well. Volksdeutsche killing that half-track. Now we've got motorized rifles versus Volksdeutsche. I'm very worried though that Hitman's just going to completely overwhelm the numbers of these motorized rifles with his Volksdeutsche. It would have been good to keep them in that building actually, so they could continue to engage with the MG. It looks like the MGs are going to be engaging the motorized rifles there, whilst the main guns are hitting the motorized rifles. The benefit of these motorized rifles versus Volksdeutsche at close range actually, something I haven't mentioned yet, is the fact that these Volksdeutsche are disheartened. So they will take double suppression, or 50% more suppression, not double, from these motorized rifles. So if the motorized rifles can pin the Volksdeutsche, then the motorized rifles will win quite easily. And that's, like, in a continued engagement, that will happen. So the 2-inch carrier is also helping out with that aim, but then we've got the 257 doing the opposite thing, trying to stop these motorized rifles from running forward and pinning them. But really nice play there. Jumps the motorized rifles forwards, manages to keep the pin onto the Volksdeutsche, breaks down the infantry in the town, and the Drake is suddenly back in the game in the center. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, one of the 6-pounders did end up getting killed, but we got the Humber Mark III now coming up, and I don't think that there's really much that Hitman has to stop that. The Humber Mark III can make some real ground down there, and we've also got another Humber Mark III coming up to the center. So where there is limited support on this bottom side, the Humber Mark IIIs can absolutely chew through those areas, and that would mean that the Guards Armoured is going to be able to make a comeback. So the 2-inch carrier used with the motorized rifles, great play by Drake, does manage to make him some ground back. If he can manage to get the pin onto these Volksdeutsche as well, by jumping into the building next to them, get another surrender, that would be fantastic. Just needs to pin them. Although, actually, never mind, the 232 is in range to stop them from being surrendered, but the motorized rifle at that range would likely just kill them off anyway. These Volksdeutsche are also suffering. The disheartened is letting them down, and both of the 232s go down at the same time. The Cromwell 4 and Cromwell 7, they've been kept out of danger so far, whilst providing a lot of pressure into this area. Another Volksdeutsche going to be pinned. The Pioneer Fiat is still pinned as well. Drake suddenly finding a way to bounce back into this game, breaking down all of these Volksdeutsche that Hitman has in Phase A. Now, there's simply nothing to kill these Humber Mark IIIs on the bottom side. I'm really hoping that the Ju-87 is used to pop them, and it will be indeed, because that is currently running all over these defenses. The Recce here spotting any infantry that are hidden, and then the Humber Mark III just chewing them up. Same deal here. Sturm Pioneer, if they get spotted, Humber Mark III can kill those, although he's not going to have to. He could just leave them there and continue to make more ground. So we've got a game on our hands, guys. Ju-87 though, is it going to find the kill? Onto the Cromwell 7, it fails, as the Cromwell 7 is microed to bounce off the front armor. Spitfire Mark 9 bomber comes in to shoot that down, and that is a terrifying prospect for Hitman, because that is a lot of points invested into the Ju-87, and now it's all gone. Humber Mark III on the top side is taken out swiftly. The Stoke 3 trying to take advantage of the Cromwell 7 being forced to fall back by that Ju-87 strike, but doesn't manage to make it. And now is exposing itself to the 17-pounder. 17 pounder, if that gets on target, that is one very dead Stug 3. Hitman knows it too. The 17 pounder, fortunately for him, has no veterancy, so his accuracy is relatively limited at maximum range. And that Spitfire Mark 9 manages to land a significant bombing strike onto the Flampanzer in the factory. Wow, this is certainly a game to watch out for, because it went one way very quickly. Hitman had the advantage in the early game, and now moving into the mid game, IDREG has completely brought it back. So we've got the Panzer IV-J arriving on the bottom side. That's going to be looking for the kill onto the Humber Mark III. It is, however, a little bit covered by the 6 pounder, and the 6 pounder might be able to kill this Panzer IV-J, since the Panzer IV-J will struggle to aim in time. These Panzer IV-Js, they have worse aim time than the Panzer IV-H, and therefore will struggle to engage things like AT guns as effectively. Motorized Rifle Leader here in a pretty tough spot. They're going to need some smoke to sort them out. Do have the 2-inch carrier here. It hasn't used any smoke yet, but there goes the 17 pounder pop in the Stug 3 on the top side. That is a very, very nice engagement. Humber Mark III has been engaged. A little bit more micro there might have allowed the Humber Mark III to actually find a kill. If that was tucked right in at the 100-meter range, I think there would have been a little bit of penetration chance against the Panzer IV. So that could have been something that IDREG tried to do, but never mind. It's already dead. Now the 6 pounder is still in position though, and another Humber Mark III is on its way. But currently still a +1 for IDREG, winning in 26 minutes and 45 seconds if it continues at this rate. Now the rifles have arrived though, and with these 10-man squads and their 8 HE, it's going to be quite easy to sort out the Volksdeutsche at close range, because again of the disheartened trait, unless of course the Volksdeutsche manage to pin down the rifles in the open with their 2 MGs. Pioneer, if you're actually jumping over here to use their grenade, that is cheeky. That is very, very cheeky indeed. Actually misses it though. Volksdeutsche don't miss the Panzerfaust. They managed to take out that carrier. Got a couple of Sturmaniacs coming in. They're going to be carrying potentially field engineers. I think they are. Anyway, meanwhile, into the center, we have some better reinforcements arriving in the SDKZ 251-1 half-tracks. Those half-tracks, with their MGs, can actually pin these rifles very quickly at range, especially being 2-star veterancy with command nearby. So that's a pretty scary prospect for IDREG's infantry, but of course the Cromwell 7 is still alive and good to go. Both players being choked, though, by this factory. It's very, very odd. Since both players have almost exposed each other's defenses on the bottom side, I'm kind of curious as to why either player hasn't tried to shift tack a little bit. Even onto this top side, there's like nothing here on either side. And no probing attempts at all. It's just everyone is all in the town. Or in the factory, sorry. But the Pioneer Field are going to go down there. You also see the Piet squad going down. Oh, these are assault pioneers, sorry, not field engineers. There we go. But the Stuart Remies with their 50 cals are certainly going to do a lot of damage to this infantry. 2-inch carrier. Again, still using HE, no smoke yet. And smoke would be perfect here, just to get these assault pioneers across without taking any crossfire from MGs. Right, now we see the rifles opening up on the bottom side. You've got the Bren group there as well, the Aufklärer. They're going to be taken out. And getting rid of that recon on the bottom side there is actually really nice, because the IGA team will eventually not be able to shoot at those anymore. Humber Mark III is potentially going to kill the 251, unless it can get back into cover. We saw the bombing strike from the Spitfire Mark 9 on the top side. Cromwell 7. Just looking for more half-track kills, and this Cromwell 7 has done very, very well so far, just to stay alive and be an absolute nuisance throughout this game so far. But this concentration into the town, or into the factory, I always do this with Colin Bell, it's a factory, not a town, is something that I think both players should maybe start to avoid at this point. But the 17-pounder going to be able to pick off the Panzer IV on the bottom side. And with that front line shifting as it did, maybe, just maybe, IDREG might push into that salient. But no. More troops arriving for the factory. We've got an absolute grind on our hands. Then we see another 6-pounder. Actually, that's a 17-pounder coming down to the bottom side. That's not another one, actually. That's just IDREG microing the 17-pounder around the map. He's been picking it up by the looks of things with this M5 half-track and just dragging it to the positions where it's needed. So in this case, what he's going to be trying to do is get it down next to this Panzer IV-J in order to kill that off. Now the Sturm Pioneers here did reveal themselves flaming this half-track. So IDREG just going to try and circumnavigate those. Just go all the way around and meanwhile just send the Hummer Mark III back. Sherman 5 currently pushing forwards on the bottom side of the factory. There is a Panzerschreck here, however. A little bit of micro from Hitman will find a Sherman kill. It looks like he's going to do just that. If he can jump in that building. See if the Panzerschreck can hit the mark. It does. It bails out the Sherman 5. That Sherman 5 just a little bit too close for comfort. And is likely going to be killed off because of it. As soon as the Panzerschreck reloads, it can just jump back forwards and get another kill. Honestly, he might just wait, however, for the Stuart Remy to move forwards and then kill that instead, because currently the Sherman 5's bailed out and therefore completely useless for the time being. Wait, did the 17-pounder get killed here? I think the 17-pounder died. I think the half-track that was pulling it got panicked. It dropped the 17-pounder and the Sturm Pioneers killed it. That's a considerable play here from the Sturm Pioneer behind the lines. Really nice stuff. Right, Panzerschreck did jump forwards and kill the Stuart Remy. The Sherman 5 is dead. However, we've got the 25-pounder coming in here and doing plenty of suppression onto the Pioneers. Panzerschreck jumping out briefly is going to take out another vehicle. This Panzerschreck, insane value. Really nicely done. Rifles going to be picking them off in the open though. But meanwhile, with these Pioneers being pinned by the 2-inch carriers and also the 25-pounder, the factory might soon come under control of IDREG, and he's still sitting on that +1, so still gaining points and still heading towards victory. Spitfire Mark 9 now coming in with the Boeing strike onto the 257. Very unlikely that will kill it. We'll have to wait and see. If he can get lucky, it might. No, just going to be falling it back for now, preventing it from, I guess, mortaring the 17-pounder or even the 6-pounder on the bottom side when that reveals itself, firing at the Panzer IV-J. Doesn't actually have line of sight onto the Panzer IV-J yet. Spring going to go down in the meantime. Rifles potentially able to kill the Volksdeutsche. I think the Aufklärer just spotted that. Yeah, they did. So the Panzer IV is going to stay in cover. That 25-pounder was targeting the enemy mortar, but since it got bombed, it's going to switch its target to the IG on the bottom side. 222 riding up next to the rifles here. Oh, that 20mm at close range, that is disgusting. Goodbye, Rifle Squad. IG also takes out the 6-pounder and the Sturm Pioneers at close range. Get a grenade into the hatch of the M5 half-track, and that goes down. So, Hitman's still making the plays, and with the Panther Gs on the field, things could get pretty scary for IDREG, unless his 17-pounders can save the day. Well, we got the Stuart Remys. They're trying to push up. They are still open top, so the Pioneers can kill those with grenades. Doesn't manage to that time around. Rifles, they're currently getting wrecked by the grenades of the Pioneers. Sherman 5 is now probing on the top side. This is what I was looking for. Players being a little bit proactive in other areas of the map. So now it's going to force Hitman to commit a Panzer IV-H to the top side, which he would otherwise put into the factory, for example. So, really good job. 17 pounder now engaging the 222. Can he find the kill? No, he won't. Just gets out of range. The Sturm Pioneer still in position. Oh no, is that going to be another 17 pounder taken out by the Sturm Pioneers? This Sturm Pioneer is being absolutely king throughout this game so far, and with the mortar fire coming in, the Sturm Pioneers might be able to run down that 17 pounder. Yep, they're going to go for it. They're running it down, but it looks like the 25 pounder just about saved the day. But that is clean line of sight onto the 257. 17 pounder currently pinned in position. Might be able to find the kill if he starts mortaring that again. Right, command carrier on the way with new command for the area. And just buffing up these assault pioneers might make them a little bit more effective against the pioneers. Panther G is now getting shots onto the 17 pounder. Sturm Pioneer continuing to try and run them down, but only has one Kar 98 on target. And is going to get slammed by the Firefly up the road. They're going to have to finally fall back or die, because the M5 half-track is also there, putting on the 30 cal fire. The Panzer IVJs made ground here. The 6 pounder dead does mean that the IG and the 222 and the Panzer IVJ can all continue their push. None of this infantry has AT, so it makes it very difficult to deal with this Panzer IV. And we could very easily see a breakthrough on this bottom side as the Panther G engages the Firefly, because the Firefly is going to suffer very badly against Panther G in this engagement. The 17 AP versus 11 armor means that this Panther G is pretty much like 80% penetration chance, which is ridiculous. Easy peasy. Oh, nice hit there though from the 25 pounder, some preemptive artillery. You can see how Idreg has put that in front of the IG with the fire position command to hit that before it moves into that area. Just needs another shot to go off target. Oh, Firefly going to get the shot onto the Panzer IVJ. Panzer IVJ attempts briefly to fire back, but can't quite aim in time. 222 finds the kill onto the half track. It just looks like a hitman right now is looking for the salient on the bottom side, and he almost has found it. It is going to actually push to a +1. Right, the Panzer IVH, meanwhile, in the top side, has managed to clean up the half-track that was here, and also the Sherman. So there is simply one man and his Spring Group squad, in his Spring Group squad, waiting to be killed off there, which is a rather sad fate for the Spring Group. Now a 6 pounder forced to be invested in up here, and, well, the counter-attack from Hitman is actually doing very, very well on both sides of the map. Meanwhile, though, Hitman, of course, clogging up the factory still. This engagement still going on. But if this 6 pounder gets taken care of, it's going to be a completely open top side. We've got the Opel Blitz coming down. The Bren Group, can they prevent that engagement? The Volksdeutsche forced to unload here. That's surely going to go down. You've got the MG42s on target. Bren Group dealt with there. Alright, we've got the 257 currently smoking off this area. That's going to allow these Opel Blitz to drive all the way up there. And, well, keeping the Panzer IVJ alive and using the 222 has managed to clean up these units on the bottom side, and that's going to be now a +2 for Hitman. His Opel Blitz are rushing now towards this 6 pounder. If he manages to unload them next to it and kill that, then the Panzer IVs are pretty much free to drive up. So that 6 pounder in big trouble, especially as the MGs open up. It's definitely dead. And, well, half-tracks might be scary, but there's still a Panzer IVH, and he loses a unit of infantry before it unloads. That is devastating for Idreg. Now it's a 2v1, 2 Volksdeutsche versus motorized rifles. That is not a place you want to be in. Weapon jam, actually, for the Firefly. Seems like a shot through from the Panther hit the mark. And now that Firefly out of action, this bottom side is crumbling as the Volksdeutsche and the 222 get into position. They're still supported by the IG-18. We've got the 251-2 coming in for the mortar support on the bottom side. Volksdeutsche still pinning these motorized rifles. The M5 half-track, though, manages to clean up the IG. That's nice. Very nice kill, but look at this. Coming in, more Volksdeutsche flooding into the factory. Hitman's had enough. He's going to try and finish off Idreg. Sherman 5 is getting the better of the Panzer 4. Can the Panzer 4 fire back? It will not before it goes down. The armor penetration there. Crew was hit and taken out. Sherman 5 winning the day. However, there's not really much infantry to help push onto the Volksdeutsche, which are getting into entrenched positions in these houses. So this position is relatively safe for now. And if they're kept on return fire without recon, these Volksdeutsche could definitely get the jump onto most of these units on the top side. We're going to see Recchi there killing off that last pioneer on his own. Volksdeutsche finding the Piat. Volksdeutsche pushing through in the center. And Drake now relying on his Crusader AA Mark II to kill off a lot of this infantry, which is a good idea. But Volksdeutsche jumping forwards with the Panzerfaust. They actually miss. And since they did miss, well, they're lucky to be alive. A pin there would have been quite devastating. But the Volksdeutsche managing to clean up the squad they were attacking first. So I would say a calculated call there from Hitman. Did manage to pay off. Could have gone wrong, but like I said, made it work. That's good. Oh, the supply came in and fixed the weapon jam, but can the Panzer IV J get on target first? It looks like it will. That's going to be a crew knockout onto the Firefly 5. See, that can't do anything. The Panzer IV J is going to have a second shot on target and does get the kill. That is devastating. 14 AP versus that 11 armor at that range is more than enough to penetrate. And the Panzer IV J coming in strong. That is not something you see very often in a Drake. Oh, he is going to surrender after that, and after 27 minutes and 49 seconds, a very scary mid-game for Hitman is completely turned around in the late game. Fantastic work. Hitman is going to be the victor of the Steel Division Throwback Tournament. Congratulations to him. What a cracking game to finish. A lot more back and forth than the first game. Hitman, like 630 kills to 30 losses in the first game. This time around, much, much closer. 2,285 kills, 2,000 losses for Hitman. And we can see there was apparently a little bit of friendly fire in there somewhere. But yeah, that is very difficult, because the trouble is with that matchup is the Panther G, if it manages to stay alive and the ground is made, then any reinforcements that come in are just going to get slammed by that Panther. Like, you can bring in as much air force as you like, and it's not really going to get the job done. So yeah, I think Drake in that position rightly surrendered. That was going to be very difficult to prevent a push on that bottom side after the Firefly went down. The Panther was just already facing the Panzer IV, sorry, was already facing in the right direction, and it got the kill onto that Firefly. Incredibly decisive play, because if the Panther IV had died, the Panther G was already falling back, which would have given the Firefly more pressure on the bottom side, which then means that Idre can push back. But at that point, Idre can't lose that Firefly. Like, if he loses that Firefly, he loses all pressure on the bottom side, the infantry is free to run forwards, and both the Panzer IV and the Panther G can support that push, which would just be crushing. It would just be over. Meanwhile, on the top side, like, the Volksdeutsche just still sat in those entrenched positions. Idreg at that point probably barely had any recon left to, like, just get rid of them. So, yeah, incredibly tough position to be in. But nice micro from the Cromwell 7 finally found the Puma kill. And then that opened up the top side of the map for Idreg in the mid-game. That was exactly what the Cromwell 7 was there to do. It was there to break down the Puma and Stoke 3, which it did manage to do in the end. With some decent micro, just kept it alive. Got pretty unlucky with some shots, but the Cromwell 7, without its veterancy, does lack a little bit of accuracy at long range, so there is that. The motorized rifles, getting the better of the Volksdeutsche with the help of the 2-inch mortar carriers was very, very significant in the factory. Really good use of those 2-inch mortar carriers, for sure. The Hummer Mark IIIs exploited the bottom side, but were ultimately countered by the arrival of the Panzer IVs. So that was unfortunate. Nice play from the Spitfire Mark 9 onto the Ju-87. This was just when everything was going in Idreg's favour. But then it all kind of turned around after this 17-pounder got killed by the Sturm Pioneer. I think, honestly, the Sturm Pioneer might have been the key to victory here. That one Sturm Pioneer sitting in that building on that road, it killed a 17-pounder and almost two, I think, which is really sort of like a massive break in the momentum of what Idreg was trying to do, because he was trying to move the 17 pounder into all the different positions to kill the Panzer IVs, break down the armor of Hitman, make it very difficult and like much less cost effective for him to keep pushing in all of the different areas of the map. But that one Sturmpioneer just completely broke down the momentum that Idreg had and just caused like such, I guess, frustration in the middle of the map. And basically made it very hard to bring in reinforcements. They were all being like harassed by that one squad, and yeah, it was very, very interesting to see. But yeah, that 17 pounder, nice couple kills, but unfortunately suffered the fate of the Sturm Pioneers. And then after that, you can see, like, so the 17 pounder gets these kills, and then there's much less kills per unit after that fact. Whereas if we jump over to Hitman, Hitman had a really strong early game. Like straight away, he was doing very, very well. But then look at the Sturm Pioneer. Actually killed a motorized rifle leader as well. And the 17 pounder there, it flamed the M5 half-track to panic, and then the 17 pounder got unloaded and died because of it. Which is crazy. And then it did loads of damage to the other 17 pounder that was in the same position. The Panzer IV-J there finding the Firefly kill. So important. IG-18 killing the other 17 pounder. And 6 pounder there. This Panther G barely did a thing. But it's just an incredibly big sort of obstacle that Idreg has to find a way around. It's very difficult for him to do so. I guess potentially Typhoon ATs might be a thing, but otherwise very, very difficult. 222 broke down the Bren group and the half tracks there. We saw the Stug 3, actually some pretty nice value from that Stug 3. Managed to kill both the Cromwell 7 and the Cromwell 4 in the end. We actually probably missed those kills during the game. And then the Volksdeutsche, getting plenty of kills here towards the end. Again, just a complete comeback. It's like just complete opposite of like Idreg's mid game. Just you can see when it's all coming together, because the infantry start getting kills because you have the support in place to be able to do that. And obviously there was a lot of Volksdeutsche were kind of spammed into the factory, and they managed to just clean things up nicely. So yeah, fantastic second game there. Congratulations to Hitman for winning the Steel Division Throwback tournament. That was quite something. Very surprised out of the gate of the first game between Hitman and Idreg, but the second game, much more standard, back and forth. I thought Idreg might have had it in the mid game, but maybe overextended a little bit on the top side. Got basically punished for that by a couple of Panzer IVs. The line got pushed all the way back up there. You know, it became a +2, +3. Meanwhile, on the bottom side again, maybe just overextension, but I think on the bottom side it was a bit different because there wasn't really much pushing from Idreg. It's just the defense got broken down over time by the good use of recon from Hitman. So yeah, great stuff. That's going to be it from this tournament, and yeah, there we go. That's about it. So what did you guys think of that? That was a hell of a game. I really, really enjoyed it. IG-18 is a joke. Thank you everyone for coming along, by the way. The 155 of you watching. This stream is only going to be going on for a little while longer. I will just talk with you guys for a little bit about the tournaments. And then we will be signing off for this stream, and then I'm going to be starting another stream in about an hour and a half on my Twitch stream. So twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming. Make sure to go follow me there. As I will be streaming exclusively on Twitch. This was just a little bit of bonus content. Idreg asked me to cast the games, and so I set it up to do it this afternoon. And this will likely be going up as like one video. I'll put both of the games together, and we'll just have like the final of the throwback tournament on the channel as well. So yeah. If you missed any of like the beginning of the first game, or like the first game completely, yeah, it will be on the channel. As a separate video. So yeah, nice reminder of how good Steel Division 1 map design was. Infantry fighting is a lot more dynamic. I don't know. I think there's some nice maps in Steel Division 2. And the Steel Division 2 is more about the scale, right? But yeah, they are very, very two different games completely. I forgot it was live to leave a like. Thank you, Aquila. Let me just go back and read any questions you have. Blackbird Blitz says, WarDOGUNLEASHED commentary is MLG. Thank you very much, man. He would have won if he spammed 234s early. Oh, good. We won a third game. Oh, dear. Well, that was interesting. A Hitman surprised me. Hitman surprised me. Reminds me of how good Steel Division 2 is over Steel Division Normandy 44. Oh, good. That was a good game. Honestly, Curbs, like in the mid game there, I thought you had it, but too much of a factory grind. Yeah, it's too much of a factory grind in the end. It was really fun to cast though. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, again, just a reminder, make sure to go follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming. We'll be streaming there from 8 PM BST. I will be streaming for 4 hours. We'll be playing some Steel Division 2 community games, so make sure to come along there. Yeah, should be good fun. You disappointed us with the lack of 7th or 4th meme. Yeah. Yeah, you should have just like 7th armored the second game. I guess it would have been banned. I don't know if there was like picks and bans, but yeah. SE2 infantry problem isn't map based but arty based. That's actually true. Like artillery is like a lot more effective in Steel Division 2. Like especially the large artillery guns, like the 150 mils, because that used to just be off map, right, in Steel Division 2. Whereas you have it at your disposal instead in Steel Division Normandy 44, it used to be off map. In Steel Division 2, you just have it at your disposal at all times. So there we go. But yeah, I'm probably going to be leaving the stream for today. Again, if you missed any of the content, it will be up on as a video on the channel. I did make sure to record it, so I can do that. And yeah, really fun stuff. Before I go, actually, I'm just going to shout out the Porsche Cup tournament. If you guys are interested in signing up, this is all the information you need. If you go to the Steel Division League Discord, you can sign up here. Get this into the chat. That is the Porsche Cup tournament. If you play Steel Division 2 and fancy giving it a go, then make sure to sign up and see how you get on. Yeah, the 152mm in Steel Division 2 are off map too. Yeah, they are, but I mean, you can actually have a 150mm gun on the map, for example. But yeah, make sure to go check out the Porsche Cup tournament, guys, if you're interested in getting involved in the competitive scene in Steel Division 2. I'm sure Chicken Do and the Chicken Jew and the Steel Division League team will love to have you guys along. Make sure to join the Discord as well. I think I have a link for that somewhere. Find that. But again, just a reminder, 8 PM BST, going to be streaming live on twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming. Let me just find that invite link. If you have it, you can do. Feel free to actually post it if you've got it. It's handy. Because I'm going to have to go to my tutorial to find the link. I just got a virus, help. Download like AVG or something. Get a nice free antivirus and smack that shit. Technical term. Alright, this is the Steel Division League Discord, guys, if you want to join that. That's where you can talk to people about joining that tournament or if you're interested in just like kind of getting involved in the competitive scene but not necessarily playing, like maybe talking to some of the players and stuff, that's the place you want to be. It doesn't work here, unfortunately, Gibbs. It's only Twitch. It's only Twitch. Right. Anyway, yeah, that's it for today. Well, not for today. This is it for this stream. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed some more competitive live commentary. I will be doing competitive live commentary on Steel Division 2 at some point in the future, so watch out for that. But yeah, make sure to go follow me on twitch.tv/VulcanHDGaming, and see you hopefully at 8 PM BST for 4 hours of Steel Division 2 content. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you later. Goodbye.